Okay, so we're at the next stage of snoot painting. Here's our snoot. So your snoot, after it dries, it's probably gonna have cracks like this. It's fine. It will be painted and it won't really be noticeable once it's painted. Okay, so first thing I wanna do, something I probably should have done on the other video, but I'm gonna do it on this. When you find in your pack, there's a pattern for like a couple little pieces like this guy right here. And what you're gonna do is make a cut sort of down the middle of this and then bend it, bend it, bend it. What you're looking for is to make a kind of eye socket, and your sample snoot will have this on it. And you want that sample eye socket to be, excuse me, you know, about 4.5 inches from the end of your snoot, so somewhere around here. And then that just gets glued on. Make sure you have your hot glue gun ready. I'm just eyeballing this because I've made a few of these. I'm just gonna hold that there until it dries a little. Excuse me. And what this is it's ultimately just gonna help you to create a kind of eye socket for the eyeball. And then I've got my second one, which I haven't really bent yet. This isn't especially scientific, you know, just get some kind of something on here that looks a bit like this. That'll do. Try and get them both roughly the same size, but once you put the fur on, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Just try and get it to stand up a bit. Mine like that. You can see kind of what we've got going on here. Let that go for a little bit. Hold it for a few seconds. And okay, so I got my eye sockets on. All right, things you're gonna need: some paint brushes. I have some different sizes here. You could probably do it with just one, but it's nice to have bigger and smaller ones. You're gonna need your brown paint, a white paint, and at this point probably also your black paint. And I also have this kind of lighter brown paint that I was using a little bit. And so for this part, you have some creative freedom, I guess you could say, but I'll show you how I painted mine. So first I want to get a kind of layer of dark paint down. This brown's almost gone, which is why I have a separate one there. You can just use a paper plate. I happen to have this scrap piece of wood here that I'm using for my paints. So I'm gonna I think I'm gonna start by laying a dark brown layer and just sort of painting the whole thing in dark brown. I'm gonna work at painting in those cracks. I'll probably go back with my smaller brush too to get inside those cracks. But they just sort of end up looking like more fur once they're painted. Sorry if you can hear my idiot pets running around in the background. And I'm not gonna get the inside of the nostrils with the brown because they're ultimately going to be painted black anyway. And I've got kind of base layer on here. almost out of this brown. All right. Yeah, you can see I've got a happy little snoot here that is color brown. So what we're gonna do next is some blending, and let me get the sample one here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna get a little more brown paint and open up. Yeah, a little more brown. And I'm gonna get some black paint out. Now you're probably thinking, oh, I'm gonna need to clean my brush. I need to wait for it to dry. You don't. We're gonna be doing quite a bit of blending. So in fact, that's not really necessary to wait for it to dry. I'm gonna get my white out. And my light brown here. Okay. So those are kind of the 4 colors I'm working with here. And just a little bit of brown. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do next is get in here with the black. I'm gonna go up inside my nostrils. And I'm gonna paint the inside of my nostril black. And ultimately we're gonna be shading this with some white paint, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want sort of generally a kind of little black nostril like this. All right, so there's my little black nostril. Now I think I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make like a little black line here on the septum. I guess you'd call that the septum, all right? And then I'm gonna go make some little black edges to my lips here. And I'm gonna come back and blend all of this, but just setting some base layer paint on here. Yeah, so something a bit like that. So the next thing I'm gonna do is get both a little black and I think a little brown on my brush. And I'm gonna start painting here. Sorry, it's a little glary, but the reason you put a little brown on your brush too is so you get some like streaking in the black color. Little brown, little black. I'm gonna go around, sorry, I'm trying to do this. Go look at it and show you at the same time. It's actually not very easy. Kudos to you, Bob Ross. Maybe I'll get just a little bit of light brown actually. Add a little more dimension up in here. And we're just gonna kind of do this all the way around with the black and the brown. Dip a little here, dip a little there. You're just sort of trying to get a little bit of streaking going on, so it just doesn't look like a solid blob of color. A little you, a little you, a little you. And I'm ultimately going to take white over a lot of this in the end, but right now, again, I'm just getting some base kind of texture, I think you could say, on this guy. Little browns. All right, so now I've got my kind of dark base on here. Come back through here with a little more brown. A few more streaks going on up in here. The Nutria has this kind of gray furs. So that's why I'm adding a little of this light. You could easily get by without using the light paint. It's going to turn out fine. I just sort of like it. I'm sorry if this isn't very visible. I'm trying to make it visible. It's not very easy. And also it's a little shiny. My light's not great. Let me see if I can fix the light a little. Hey Google, turn on the bar lights. Maybe that helps a little with the reflection. Yeah, there we go. And go back and this guy a little more. There's no perfect way to do this. Just, you know, do what feels right. Give him some little texture color. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is actually just gonna use this same brown brush and I'm gonna start dipping it in white. And this is where I'm gonna start adding a little bit of depth. Sorry, not doing that on camera. And here I'm pulling it out and like, you know, trying to kind of make it look like fur that's blending in. And I'll probably come back and put even more white paint on here. But it's a process of sort of gradually blending in your colors. Oh, and I took my little septum away there, but I'll come back and add that again later. Everything can be painted over. And this is where he really starts to get a little bit of depth and sort of animal-like, right? Trying to see what I'm doing and show you, and it's kind of hard. Okay, I'm gonna come back here, wipe a little bit of this off. I'm gonna go back and get some more white. And you can see that what I'm doing is sort of leaving the very inner part of the nostril black. But the rest I'm putting these white highlights on. All right, so that's sort of how it ends up looking. I think my nostrils are a little bit different in size here, so I'm gonna try and even them out. Part of that is that crack I had there, but again, you notice that the crack, it's really not visible anymore. And once you paint on it, it kind of disappears into the other textures. I'm gonna try and get a little bit of this light brown in here. Oh yeah, that adds a nice layer. White. I feel like that's getting a little. And ultimately, we're going to be putting whiskers sort of up in here. So a lot of this kind of front matter won't be particularly visible. All right. So there's my kind of base layer of paint. I'm gonna come back and put my lips and septum back on here. And I'm just gonna make like a pretty thin line. Get some plain black paint up in here. I'm gonna take it along the edge of my lips. About like that. I feel like I made it a little thicker than I wanted it. And again, I'm just sort of, at this point, it's like the basic shape is there and I'm just sort of playing around with what I want it to look like in the end, but something like that. So your snoot is ultimately gonna look a bit like that. I'm gonna double check that this all looks the way I want it to. I feel like there's a little brown there that I don't like. And once it dries a little, you can also come back over it and, you know, add some more texture. This is entirely your creation. I'm just giving you some basic kind of directions here. And voila, that is kind of how it ends up looking. I feel like this is a little even. I'm gonna bring that out a little further to match it up with the other side. That's how I do it. me a while to get this the way I wanted it on the sample one too. But I'm really done now, so you don't have to watch anymore if you don't want to. Now I'm just being fussy. And that's where I'm going to leave it. About like that. And got some more black back here. Okay. Voila. Snoot painted. Up next, adding the base layer of fur to the snoot, but I am going to wait for it to dry before I do that. Ooh, I got a little white paint right here. There we go. That's it.